Vikings, let's win the game.
Vikings fan, today's breakdown is exactly how you like it. We've got a serious debate about draft choices with two prospects this team simply cannot afford to miss on. And trust me, this is the kind of decision that sticks with a franchise. There's a potential hiring move behind the scenes because of a really strange loophole. That one could flip things fast if it actually happens. At the same time, Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy are getting insider updates on the Vikings quarterback battle. And yeah, that competition might be tighter than people expect. And to wrap it up, meet the 5 fastest players on the 2026 Vikings roster. Some of these names might surprise you. Let's go. There's something slipping under the radar in all this draft talk, and ignoring it would be a huge mistake, because it's not just about who you pick, it's also about who you don't pick, and that decision can hit just as hard. And this right here could shape the direction of the franchise for years. The team handled free agency with real discipline. They added key pieces, strengthened important areas, and avoided reckless spending. That part matters more than people realize. Bringing in Kyler Murray changes the offense. Signing Javon Hargrave adds power up front. All of that creates a more balanced roster. But there's still a major hole in the middle of the defense that you can't just patch with guesswork. That's where things get risky. Harrison Smith's departure left a massive void. And it's not just talent. It's instincts, leadership, presence. Not just anyone steps in and fills that. And that's where the danger comes in. Because in this draft class, there are names that look great on paper. But inside this Viking system, they could become a problem. One of them is Ty Simpson. He's got arm strength, pedigree, flashes on tape. But he's a roller coaster. One play makes you say, that's it. And the next drive, it's a completely wrong decision. And that swing, that can cost you games. In Kevin O'Connell's offense, that doesn't work. This system is built on rhythm, precision, trust. Bringing in a player like that would create unnecessary noise in a roster that's already trying to find its identity. And it doesn't stop there. Another name creating buzz is Talon Green. Physically, impressive. His combine performance turned heads. Elite speed, explosiveness. He almost looks like a skill position player. But when you watch him throw, that's where things get shaky. And that's the part you can't ignore. Inconsistent mechanics, raw decision-making under pressure. So let me ask you, are the Vikings in a phase to develop a project or compete right now? That answer changes everything. This kind of pick can set you back. This is the kind of fan insight from someone who watches every detail, not someone chasing hype. And I'll tell you, draft mistakes like this don't forgive. You miss here, you pay later. So what would you do? Take the risk or play it safe? I want your take, and stay with me, because the next story involves a potential behind-the-scenes hiring move that nobody saw coming, and it could get messy fast. Now check this out, because what just happened behind the scenes across the league opened a door that, honestly, nobody saw coming. And this one could ripple beyond just Minnesota. The Vikings don't have a permanent general manager locked in right now. And that alone is already a sensitive situation, because while the team is trying to stay competitive on the field, off the field there's still uncertainty about who's making the biggest decisions. That kind of gap can't last forever. But then comes a strange twist from the NFL, and when I say strange, I mean really strange. The name gaining traction is Ian Cunningham, but not because of a direct hiring move. It's because of a league ruling that confused everyone. He recently went to Atlanta, supposedly as a general manager, but the NFL ruled that he is not officially the primary football executive in that role, and that changes everything. Under the Rooney Rule, when a minority executive is hired into that position, the previous team receives draft compensation, but the Chicago Bears didn't get anything. That raised the question, what exactly is his role in Atlanta? And that's where Minnesota could step in. If he's not officially considered the top executive, then in theory, the Vikings could request an interview. And even crazier, Atlanta might not be able to block it. That's how wild this situation is. It's the kind of loophole that looks small, but could turn into a massive hiring opportunity if handled right. And those opportunities don't come around often. And now the debate begins, because Ian Cunningham has a strong resume. He helped build the Bears into a competitive team again. He's not just a random name. He's got vision, experience, and understands modern roster construction. But at the same time, context matters. Minnesota could also look internally. Rob Brzezinski knows the organization, understands the salary cap, and already has trust inside the building. There's also George Patton as an external option, so this is not a simple decision. Bringing someone in from outside, especially in a situation this unclear, could be brilliant or it could backfire. And those are the moves that define eras. And I'll tell you, this is the kind of move that shows whether a franchise is playing chess or just reacting, because getting this hiring right could shape the next several years. Getting it wrong could stall everything. And the uncertainty doesn't stop there, because on the field, There's a battle heating up that could reshape the entire Vikings offense, and that one might divide the fan base. Quick ask, subscribe to the channel, and jump into the comments. Your voice matters here. There's something about this situation that hits differently. And this quarterback battle is exactly that. Because it's not just about a position, it's about the identity of the Vikings offense in 2026. And identity is everything in this league. The team is taking a different approach after last season. No more handing out the job automatically. Now it's an open competition, practice, preseason, games. Whoever proves more, plays. And that pressure is real. And right in the middle of it, two names are leading the fight, Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. And they are completely different profiles. Murray comes in with experience, production, a strong resume. He's played at a high level before. He understands the pressure. He knows how to manage big moments. And one thing stands out. His ability to extend plays with his legs when everything breaks down. That alone can flip a game. McCarthy is a different story. Younger, still developing, coming off a season full of ups and downs. There were good flashes, yes, but also costly mistakes, interceptions, rushed decisions. Typical for someone still adjusting to NFL speed. And those mistakes add up fast. And that matters, because Kevin O'Connell made it clear that nobody has a guaranteed spot. The competition goes as long as it needs to. No early decision. That means every rep counts. And here's an interesting detail. Carson Wentz is on the roster, but he's not part of this direct battle. He's more of a safety net, a guy who can step in if needed and keep things stable. But between Murray and McCarthy, it's different, because choosing one changes the entire offense. With Murray, the game becomes more dynamic, more improvisation, more explosiveness. With McCarthy, the focus shifts to structure, control, development. And that raises a real question. Can this team afford to wait for that development? That's what's hanging in the air. And that answer could define the season. This is not just stats. This is real football feel. Murray looks more ready, but McCarthy represents the future. And the NFL doesn't wait for anyone. So what would you do? Go with experience or bet on growth? Because that decision changes everything, and stay locked in. Because the next story is all about why this new addition could completely change the level of this team if it actually clicks. Now let me tell you something that might split opinions, but makes a lot of sense when you look at the full picture. And this is where things get interesting. There are a lot of people who believe this recent addition could be the perfect fit for what the Vikings need right now. And this is not just off-season hype. There are real arguments behind it. The name is Kyler Murray. And before reacting, hold on. This isn't empty hype. He's stepping into a completely different environment than what he had before. And that matters more than people think. In the past, he played on a team with a weak defense, constant pressure, and little stability. That situation forced a lot of mistakes. Here, it's different. First point, the system. Kevin O'Connell knows how to work with quarterbacks. That's not theory. We've seen it with multiple players. He can simplify the game when needed. He can also maximize a quarterback's strengths. And that combination is dangerous. With Murray, that fits. Second point, protection. The Vikings' offensive line is not perfect, but it's also not a disaster. Even with injuries, it held a respectable level. With better health, it can improve even more. And that gives Murray time. That changes everything. Third point, and maybe the biggest one, the weapons. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. Just hearing those names, you can imagine what happens if this offense clicks. And defenses know it too. Murray doesn't need to do everything. He just needs to distribute the ball smartly. And he's shown he can do that. Now, there's one detail people overlook. The defense. Since Brian Flores arrived, this unit has been one of the most consistent in the league. Pressure is constant. The scheme is aggressive. Reads are fast. That takes pressure off the offense. And for a quarterback, that's huge. Less forcing plays, more control of the game. And when you put all that together, it starts to make sense. This isn't about turning Murray into something new. It's about putting him in a situation that amplifies what he already does well. And that can be dangerous for any opponent. But of course, it all depends on one thing. He has to win the job. Because if he doesn't, all of this projection changes, and that shift could be massive. And that leads right into the next topic, because there are players on this roster who can change a game in a heartbeat, and speed is a big part of that. Some things don't always make headlines, but on the field they make a massive difference. And this is one of those areas, and when you really look at it, it gets exciting in a different way. Speed. This Vikings roster is getting fast, really fast, and speed kills in this league. And it's not just one or two guys. There are multiple names across the team who can change a play instantly. That kind of depth matters, starting with a name many fans are still getting to know. Joaquin Davis, a tall, physical wide receiver who surprises with his speed. He ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. That's no joke. but he's still a question mark. He could make the final roster, or he might not. And that uncertainty makes him interesting. Then you have someone who already showed flashes. Dallas Turner. And think about this. An outside linebacker making this list. That's rare. He ran a 4.4640. For a defensive player, that changes how you pressure quarterbacks. It adds another layer to the defense. Then we get to a familiar name. Kyler Murray. Yes, he's one of the fastest players on the team, and that matters more than ever. When a play breaks down, he doesn't just escape. He creates yards. That opens up the offense. That stresses defenses. But there's more. Miles Price. This is the type of player who can become a fan favorite. Return specialist. Quick, explosive. He's been close to breaking big plays. Just needs to turn those into touchdowns. And if he does, that changes games. Now, a name you really need to watch. Ty Felton. He ran a 4.37. And the interesting part, he barely saw the field. But with roster changes, his opportunity is coming. And if that happens, he could be a real surprise factor, the kind that flips momentum. And at the top of the list, Isaiah Rodgers, 4.28. That's elite. That's game-changing speed. And it's not just numbers. He's shown on the field he can keep up with any receiver. When a cornerback has that kind of speed, the entire defense plays freer. That changes coverage. That changes risk. And that's where everything connects. A fast offense, an explosive defense, special teams that can flip a game. This doesn't get as much attention as a trade or a signing, but on the field, it wins games. And when you combine all of this with everything we talked about, the picture becomes clear. This team can surprise or disappoint, and that line is thinner than people think. And that's exactly what we need to talk about now. And that's what really hits, because when you put all of this together, it creates a strange feeling. The team made smart moves, avoided major draft mistakes. It could land an important front office hire. It has a real quarterback battle. It brought in a player who can raise the ceiling, and it added speed all over the roster. All the pieces are there, but at the same time, it's all still potential. None of it guarantees results. That's the reality of this league. Either this team clicks and becomes a problem for everyone, or it's another season of almost, and nobody wants that again. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these stories got you the most excited or concerned? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.